All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tim and Tim Show. Tim Vest, how you doing this morning, man? You look a little
I'm
chilly with
cold.
your photo of snow on your truck or Jeep or whatever it was, or your
That
Bronco.
was that was that was unexpected. Uh, I wasn't expecting to wake up to snow this morning.
No, I don't think anybody in the Carolinas. Well, maybe some people were if they're paying. I saw there was a lot of snow up in Boone and stuff like that in the mountains, so that's
Yeah,
unexpected.
the mountains got some. You know, it's odd though, and this will mean something to some of you, but not all of you. Is the Sand Hills had it down in Southern Pines area. We had it here in Charlotte area, but Hickory between here and Boone did not get anything.
It's got to be like elevation related or something.
Well, Hickory's higher elevation than here.
That's true.
Yeah, so it was strange.
Maybe it's the lake effect of Lake Norman.
That's what it is. It's the Lake Norman lake effect, guys. Yeah. Whereas, and that tells you about the size of the lake, right? Like Buffalo gets 2 feet of snow with lake effect, and Charlotte gets dusting.
Dusting, yeah. All right. Well, this week we're talking about what's your plan in 2025. We're coming to the end of the year, and I know, next week's show we're going to be talking about, taking your foot off the gas or continuing to power through and set yourself up for success. So who you are and what you choose to do in December will start out your 2025. So if you wait or you get started now, we'll see how that works out for people. So I know you people that are closing deals in February are putting deals under contract early December, and I like that. So don't take the foot off the gas just yet. But what we wanted to really talk about was how things are trending into 2025 and what our predictions are, because they vastly have been incorrect over the last year. I bet we could go back and watch a bunch of our videos and be like, what the hell were we thinking if we only knew what we knew now? So y'all are smooth, Jonathan. Thanks. Well, you can call me Keith Stone. Always smooth. Morning, Dennis. Good to see you. All right. So Tim, what are you expecting for 2025?
Not what I thought 2 months ago.
Right.
I tell you that, man. I thought it was going to be, to use your word, frothy. I think
I did say that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of the same, guys. I think we're going to see a whole lot of people that have been sitting on the sidelines, not knowing what to do, continue to sit on the sidelines, not knowing what to do.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
wait for that ideal time to time the market to make sure that it gets the best interest rate and the lowest of the low at the market.
I don't even know what to say to that.
That is some creative thinking right there, Dennis.
I don't wear Crocs. Nothing against them. I just don't wear them. But man, I don't know. We were all sitting here expecting interest rates to drop. In fact, hey guys, we're going to admit when we made a boo-boo here. Rates dropped in the mid 5s, upper 5s for a little bit there. And we were like, we think they're going to go lower. So
yeah, for reference, the 10-year was, I think it bottomed out at like 3.5 or 3.6 or something like that.
And so we held off on some refinances, right? So we're going to move forward now with those refinances, but our rates are going to be in the low to mid 6s now.
Yep. Yeah, we thought, the Fed's reducing rate and it's been priced into the market a little bit, and we'll see how the election goes, but we're going to take a gamble and see that hopefully rates are going to go in our favor, and 2025 is going to be a buying and selling frenzy because the rates have dropped significantly, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen now.
Yeah, as many times as you learn the lesson, sometimes you still play the game, right? And I think I told you way back when, I had a mentor who told me, it was like, hey man, when somebody's offering you debt under 7%, take it. And I've never understood exactly why his frame of reference was 7%, but that's specifically what he said. And here we were with 5.5, 5.75 sitting in front of us, and we didn't take it. Well, it's still below 7, so we're going to take it. So, lesson learned. But at the same time, guys, like what I would say moving into 2025 is I don't think those rates are getting any lower. I hate to say that. I think we're going to see some inflation kick back in. That's what most of the folks are advising. Um, I don't I don't necessarily believe the fear mongers who, somebody 2 weeks ago threw at me, I think we're going to see 10% rates. And I was like, really? I,
Well, we were wrong on our prediction of them going lower, so who's to say we're not going to be wrong on them going that higher?
and maybe we will. Maybe we will see 10 and 11%. I don't know. But all I know is if my deal works at 6.5, 6 3/4, I need to make it work. And I need to tie in and just deal with it for a while, right?
Yeah, what's to say? Is time is your best friend in real estate ultimately.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
can lock into 5-year debt or something like that now and be okay, then takes a lot of pressure off because that gives you time to increase the rents and stabilize the property and really kind of ride out the market cycle a bit and take your head up above water in 5 years and say, hey, like, what's going on? And we were kind of talking about it a little bit, and we are like, man, with a lot of the stuff that we're buying with 2-year bridge product, then we're 2-3 years ago that we've been buying it and we're refinancing into 5-year debt. Come, what's it, 2025, basically, come 2030, and people are looking at our purchase price from, the early 2020s.
Yeah.
They're like, man, I wish I bought this 7 years ago. He got such a great deal on it. I mean, how many times? I mean, if you look back, anybody that bought something in 2015, you're like, oh gosh, I wish I bought it back in 2015, right? And ultimately, it's
Yeah.
just time. Time is your friend with real estate. So if you can refinance your debt, you can get your primary loan out of the way, put yourself into a fixed rate long-term debt position, do that, right? I mean, I think everyone got very comfortable with how quickly properties have appreciated in the last couple of years that they expect it to continue to happen. And yes, to a moderate level, you can with forced appreciation. However, buying sentiment is different, rates are different, insurance rates are different.
Yep.
There's a lot of differences in the market now that you can push the value on a property significantly, but maybe people, myself included, were a little too aggressive on some of the terms, right? I mean, I think the biggest one that we're kind of getting hammered on is we estimated, when we were buying stuff with 75, 80% leverage, we were underwriting to 70, 75% refinance leverage.
Yeah.
And a lot of those rates now have been cut to 60, 65.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been the biggest needle mover for us. I mean, because we've completed our value add, the property values have gone up. The NOI is significantly higher than it was. However, the property values overall are down because of insurance rates, right? So we're missing a little bit there on our NOI because of unbudgeted insurance increases. We're talking 200-300% increases, guys, not like 10% or something like that.
Right.
And taxes is the other big line item that has really kind of affected us negatively. And even on some of our affordable products, our affordable properties that had tax revaluations that we appealed the taxes on, the towns have just been difficult with us and not working with us on the tax appeals and appraisal values and tax rates and all this other kind of stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of things going there, but the biggest part being, we expected 70-75% leverage and we're getting like 60-65. It maybe would have been a bit more manageable if it was 65-70, but it really has been pushed onto the lower end of the 60%
Yeah.
range.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, Tim, I think you said something there that people need to pick up on. We always kind of we always kind of like glance over it because we always say time is your friend in real estate, and that is so true, right? That's so absolutely true. I mean, single family, multifamily, you name it, time is your friend. We can all look at the house next door and be like, man, I'm glad I bought when I did.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, I'll use a practical example. This house I'm sitting in right now, like I know what I paid in 2006 for this place. And I look at what the guys are paying now and I'm like, that's nuts. Right.
I'd never
But
pay that much for this place.
my wife and I have literally had that conversation. We're like, would you ever pay that for this house? And we're like, no, but
If you had no other option, yeah, you would.
right. But that's the frame of reference. Right. And that's why that's where I'm going. This is a long way of saying this right here is time is your friend. It's just a matter of when you start the clock. Right.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why like people were looking at me and Tim, and they're like, "You guys are like buying like crazy this year." Everybody else is sitting on the sidelines. It's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm starting my clock, right?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to wait 5 years for everything to align? And then I
No,
got to
then
wait.
you missed the
And then,
boat.
right, I missed the boat. Prices, everybody's competing against each other. And then two, well, if I got a 5-year horizon, is my 5-year horizon starting in 2024, or am I waiting until 2029 to start that 5-year horizon? Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we say the same thing in our coaching group, right? With like people that are wanting to get into the industry is, the sooner you start learning the fundamentals, the foundation, the basics, the lingo, practicing, building relationships, the sooner you start your clock and on all of those necessary aspects to
Right.
becoming a real estate investor or syndicator, if that's what you desire to be, the faster you start the clock. I mean, it's just one less day that you didn't start the clock, right? I mean, you're just going to be a day older every day you wait.
Yeah. So, as we're talking about like 2025 and interest rates and stuff like that, got to be honest, man, it's not changing my strategy at all. I'm
Mm-mm.
like, if I walk into a deal next year, or if I'm looking at them right now, which I am, if I walk into something right now next year, whatever that works at 6.5, 7%, I'm buying it
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to put it on 6.5, 7%. And if rates come back down to 5%, great.
I can refinance it.
Yeah.
And a lot of lenders will waive refinance fees, if you refinance with them, right? So you don't have to get locked into something and be like, oh, then I'm stuck. You're not necessarily stuck.
Yeah. I just, I think a lot of times, people are just waiting for that perfect market. And, so let's talk about 2020 and 2021, right? Like what everybody, perfect market, right? Like the interest rates were, I mean, 3.5, 4%, right? And people were all hot and bothered about it. But guess what? There were like 100 people bidding on every deal. So yeah, you got your debt at 3.5%, but maybe you overpaid by 20%,
Right.
10%,
Right.
15%, right?
Just to get into a deal.
Yeah. So, and now, here you are, and maybe you're up on a refi, maybe you're coming close to a refi, and, maybe your value is not where it needs to be, right? Maybe you're underwater because you overpaid going in the door. So, yeah,
So
good.
one thing that I kind of want to piggyback off of is was it last week or maybe the week before that? We did a show about how incremental progress is better than taking a giant leap.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we're talking about here is taking incremental progress of achieving your financial goals is buying deals in every cycle of the market as long as you're underwriting them correctly and saying I'm going to make money on this deal in the long run. People that are trying to time the market and buy one deal and make all their bacon on one deal, uh, those are the people that are trying to take a massive leap, a massive action.
Yeah.
And when you get stuck on trying to find out what the best decision to make is when you make no decision at all. So it's a lot easier to make very small decisions on buying properties if they work today rather than waiting for interest rates to be correct and insurance rates to be correct and the property, the economic sentiment to be correct and to have the right person in the White House that you want to be correct. Like if you're waiting for all of those things to align, you're waiting to take one massive action instead of a lot of smaller incremental actions that will lead you to success faster.
Yeah, it's all about the step you take in the moment, right? Like, because
Yeah.
Tim, like, what are the issues that we ran into in 2020? Like, we'd been doing real estate for a little while. I'd been doing it for a while, just not in the multifamily space. But one of the things I ran into was there were 500. There was a ton of buyers out there, and I'd go talk to brokers, and they're like, "What have you done? What have
Yeah.
you done?" Brokers were extremely selective on who they do they show deals to or show the good deals to, right? So, like you're talking about, it's like if you wait for that opportunity, what kind of track record are you going to have to show
Mm,
somebody when you're trying to compete against 10 other buyers, right?
that's a good thing right there, right? I mean, if you got no transactions under your belt, when it is the right time, you're not going to be able to do anything with it anyways.
Right. And I will say this, like right now in this window, brokers are brokers are asking for just about anybody. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
They're
who
taking who
wants to
they
buy
can
a
get.
deal? Who wants to buy a deal? You have no
Yeah.
track record? That's cool. Maybe you will
They're
buy
looking
right now.
they're looking around when the lights come on at the bar at 2 a.m. to see who's left.
Yeah. Because I can tell you right now, man, I've sold some deals to guys that have very little track record, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they were the buyers that showed up to the table. In 2021, maybe they don't get that look at that deal, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So, like Tim's talking about incremental steps, it's just a matter of what incremental step you're going to take today. Today, I would say get in there, make a name for yourself so that when the market does get frothy, you're still getting to look at the good deals,
I'm a
right?
little bent out of shape about the market now, anticipating to be super frothy in 2025 because
I
everyone was
know.
saying that survived to 25, right? Now I think it's survived through 25.
Yeah. We got to come up with something that rhymes with six.
Hmm. Nothing comes off of nothing rattles
anybody
off
listen?
the tongue.
Anybody listening that can come up with something kind of sexy for something to 26?
Uh, I don't. Yeah,
Stay in the mix till 26. I don't know.
yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is there's been a lot of folks out there struggling and stuff like that, and like you said, they're buying time. They're basically putting themselves in a position to get down the road to get another 3, 4, 5 years under their belt, and that's kind of what we're looking at for 25, I think, and 26, and then two. Like I said, I'm not going to stop buying. I'm going to be going after deals. I'm going after them right now for January and February. Um, that's, I think Tim mentioned a little bit about that, and we're going to talk more about it next week. So I don't want to go too far into this, but guys, like right now, I'm looking for what we're going to buy in 25. I'm looking about where we're going to add to our portfolio. What can we strategically go buy in 2025 that makes sense? And
Also taking into consideration the properties we're looking to sell in 2025.
yeah, 100%. But I will say this. We bought some stuff in 21 and 22. I like it. But the stuff we've bought in the last like 12 months or so, I really like our cost basis a lot more on that
Mm.
than the stuff we bought 2 years ago.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Yeah. And guys, like the one thing you can't change is cost basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
you can add to it.
Yeah.
It's hard to take away from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I guess you can change your cost basis
You
then.
can change your cost, but it's hard to lower your cost basis. Let's put it that way. So, I really like the cost basis that we got over the last 12 months.
Yeah. Significantly better. But that's because we were the only people buying.
Yeah. So
And then there's more opportunity that keeps coming up that people are like, hey, I saw you closed all these deals last year and I can't find anybody to close on a deal like this. What would you pay for it? I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had where people call me, what would you pay for this, instead of here's what they want to offer you, I'll give you first dibs at it. No, it's such a buyer's market right now. It's crazy.
yeah, buyer's market, and then loan assumptions, man. Loan assumptions are huge right now. I was Tim and I have something right now that, I mean, what's our debt? Like 2%, something like that.
Oh,
And
ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, man, I got 2% debt for 10 more years.
Mm-hmm.
Man, who wouldn't kill to have 2% debt for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And I mean, that's a value, guys. And we got that because we were willing to go buy over the last 12 months. So yeah, as we're talking about like what are we planning to do for 2025, like even though interest rates seem to like they're going to go up, inflation looks like it's going to be a little bit of a bear for a little bit. Nothing's changing for me. I'm in acquisition mode, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh boy, can't wait to do that again.
Acquisitions.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, most people that watch our show regularly know that we've kind of turned off our acquisition faucet for a while, focusing on operations, focusing on property stabilization, focus on refinances. We're kind of in a period now where we need to focus on these things in order to set us up for the next level of growth. And it's abundantly clear because we have a couple of properties in our portfolio that we bought 2-3 years ago. They're 100% stabilized. It is literally just, did we send out lease renewals? Do we have a rent turns already scheduled? And we don't even really have to talk about it a whole lot. but there is a significant amount of our portfolio that we bought over the last year and a half that is still in its value add stage. It takes a lot of time and effort and refinance and strategic thinking and negotiating costs for capex improvements. Like there's a significant amount of time and energy that goes into those parts of a value add deal, that it's like, man, if we had our whole portfolio at this level of stabilization where we don't have to be constantly, I don't want to say on top of it, but we're not like in the weeds as much of it compared to other properties, because I like to call it kind of a vanilla deal at this point. Like there's really nothing going on except for people paying their rent. There's work orders being done. We're sending out renewal letters and doing some unit turns on some vacancies, which is typical real estate, right? But when we're buying these properties that are sometimes older vintage, sometimes newer, we're going after some of these things that have massive rent increases. And those rent increases, ultimately, when you give out a renewal, they're going to have some vacancy, right? So you have to deal with that. You have to time it all. We have construction crews that we work with that, we have to be strategic about when we're pushing on one property versus not on another, so that we can make sure we have a batch of units for the crew to go do. And that saves us a significant amount of money in CapEx costs. Like there's so much strategic thinking that happens behind the scenes that nobody sees or hears about, really. I mean, obviously, Tim and I talk with our team and to each other every day, multiple times a day, going through these types of things. But once we get to that point where we stabilize it, we put it on long-term debt, then it's like, okay, now we're ready for the next batch of properties. We'll put these ones on not on autopilot, but more on adaptive cruise control, right? Good one. Yeah. It's not full
like
Tesla self-driving, that's for sure. But
No.
then that opens up our bandwidth, and a good word here is capacity. It opens up our capacity to be able to go after these significant value add deals again.
Yeah, because I mean, and you hit on a good one, right? Like we've done a good job of creating reno teams, right? However, we've hit our capacity with that, right? So literally had a call this morning with our construction lead about, hey, we've got to find some more crews. We've got to find more crews.
So we're at capacity with that for sure.
Yeah, so that's one thing we're working on right now is finding more crews. And then as we go, we're also learning, the things, the signs, if you will, the kind of indications that our crews are at their capacity. And we're trying to say, hey, we identified it at this point. What could we have done? What could we have done to identify it just a couple of steps earlier? So
and just giving it an extra month, right? And let everybody catch up and get a little bit of a breather, to finish everything and do it correctly, and not just kind of rush to get it done and get it done right.
Right. Or to say, or to identify it to the point where it's like, hey, I'm seeing the signs that this crew has all they can handle. They can handle what they have, but I better not put anything else on them. Right.
Right. Yeah. Give them 4 to 6 weeks to catch up on everything and finish what they have.
Yeah. Because ultimately the way a lot of people identify it is crews start missing timelines. They start missing schedules. Right. And you want to identify it before that. So those are some of the things that we're working on, like Tim's talking about. Like we want to create more capacity for ourselves. So the only way to do that is to scale, and then also finish what you're doing.
Yeah, finish what you're doing is a big part of the capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
Finish what you started.
Yeah, because it's real easy. It's real easy just to keep buying, and we're guilty of that too. It's like, hey, let me just go buy more.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a phone call yesterday with somebody, and he was talking to me about, the differences of like what my day-to-day looks like now with owning a management company versus buying assets and raising money and just dumping it off to a third-party property management company. And I was like, it was funny. I was reminiscing about this a couple of weeks ago. It's like, there was a point in time in my real estate career where I had to sit on phone calls with property management companies all day Thursday. That's what we did. Thursdays, it was property management day. No problem, right? And on every other day of the week, I could either do things that I wanted to in my personal life, or I could focus on building investor relationships or underwriting deals or whatever I had to do, right? Because I didn't have to worry about the day-to-day operations of the business because it was, somebody else was handling it. Now, most of my week is taken up by property management, so that when we get to they're now our Monday calls. But when we get to our Monday calls, we have essentially the same conversation
Right.
with our management company that we would with the property management company on Thursdays, right? So to tie the knot there is, but instead of just having the phone call on Mondays now, which is, the same as what was our Thursdays, I'm involved in the whole process the week before to get to that Monday call,
Right.
right? So then the
Right.
Monday call is like a reset of like, okay, well, this is everything we wanted to accomplish last week. Where are our numbers shaking out now? And where do we need to spend our time and attention to focus on and actually doing the work rather than directing it and just saying, hey, like, this is what we want to do this week. Let's report back next week and let me know how it went.
Right.
Like it's completely different now. But
Yeah.
he was saying, we're really good at acquisitions and raising money, but we fired 3 property management companies in the last year. And I was like, well, when you're the property management company, you have no one else to blame. You got to roll up your sleeves and get it done, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, the buck stops with you. So you're
Yeah.
controlling the investor relations, the acquisitions, the management, everything soup to nuts.
Yeah. It's hard to tell the investors anymore. Well, the property management team sucked.
That's oh yeah, right.
And
Yeah,
they're like,
that's not
wait,
a good excuse.
aren't you the property management team?
Aren't
Yeah,
you
and
the
we
property
suck.
manager? Yeah, we are awful. You should fire us. No.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a hard conversation.
Especially with myself. I
I look in the mirror all the time. I'm like, you have to
know.
do better.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, and I'm curious. I'm really curious to see what happens in 2025, because I think a lot of people that talks about the ones that are being successful right now in 2024 are those who focused on operations, that went vertical, that brought things in house. They got to kind of, maybe, I don't want to say got ahead of it, but they definitely got thrown into the mix and realized that they had to do it themselves. I'm curious to see what happens in 2025. Is it going to be just more people converting to property management, or
Yeah.
those people that did convert to property management, are they going to grow and scale their management companies and turn that into a larger service business for additional revenue and cash flow? I mean, or are we going to start to see a lot of people start selling their stuff at a discount because they fired 4 property management companies in 2023 and 2024, and now the people that went vertical in 23 and 24 and own their own management companies have the ability to buy these places at significant discounts and be able to execute on a value add strategy? I mean,
I think
there's so many options.
I think you just hit on it, man.
I,
Like I I think you
hopefully,
did, because I will tell you this, maybe a little preview for you guys. Like, I've had more calls in the last month from people who've used third parties asking me, "Hey, what did you do when you converted, brought your property management in-house?" They're asking me because they're considering it,
yeah.
and they want to know how.
Are those
Um,
people doing a little too? Is it a little too late? Not what is that saying? A little
little too little, too late, right?
too little, too late, right? Maybe question mark. I don't know. Hopefully not.
Maybe,
Depends on their debt situation.
but yeah, I think, if I had to look in my crystal ball, which is behind me in the closet here, I I think you're going to see that, and then I think you're going to see a mix of folks who are like, I do not want to do property management, so I'm just going to sell what I got.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Potentially.
yeah,
So those of you that have doubled down and really kind of gone all in on the business rather than kind of saying this has gotten difficult and walking away from it, I think those people are going to be rewarded.
yeah, I agree.
And I think maybe multifamily won't be so competitive because a lot of people are going to other asset classes and wanting to try that out and see if it's easier. I mean, but to be fair, I do know people that have gone from multifamily to self-storage, self-storage development as a whole, or even industrial, and are doing very well and they love it, right? So I'm not to say that you couldn't do that. It just depends on, what does your 5-year vision look like?
Yeah, yeah, and just remember, guys, everything has a cycle.
Hmm.
Um, Storage will have a cycle, industrial will have a cycle, retail has a cycle. It'll all have a cycle.
Yep.
Um, so
So
but just remember, like, when the cycle, in the tough part of the cycle is when a lot of the opportunity is created.
that's when the opportunity, yeah, when it's hard, that's when you need to double down and grow.
Yeah.
So,
So,
all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. We will be in tune with you next week and hope to see you then. Peace.
peace.